Dan Johnson here at Sun and Fun 2012, and today we're talking with James Wiebe about not aircraft. There's another company beside Belite, and it makes instruments, and it makes some very interesting instruments. And I have to show you this right off the bat so you appreciate this. First of all, there's nothing connected to this. It's sort of one of those magic tricks, nothing around the outside. These are not only attractive instruments, but look at this. There's almost nothing to it, or so it seems. And the question has come to you, well, how are you powering this? What makes this work? How do you explain that question?
It's pretty easy. You got to start with a really small battery. We've got that over here, 9 volts.
One 9-volt battery doing all of these?
But of course you can connect it to ship power anytime you want. Anything from 8 to 14 works great. This 9-volt battery will run this entire panel for 8 hours.
8 hours. That's longer than I can fly. I don't know about you, but fascinating. And so, well, let's just look at one, the turn rate inclinometer. See, this isn't how an inclinometer or a turn rate instrument in an analog world looks. How does this work?
Okay, what we did was we wanted to exactly recreate the function of a turn coordinator. And let's start on the bottom, the bubble, the inclinometer.
Right, the bubble that we all watch when we fly to see if we're coordinated.
Slip and skid, and it is exactly the same as that same ball you've been looking at. The only good news here is that as you slip or skid, the further away you get from center, it turns red and lets you know that you need to step on it. So instead
you can also see that very well because it's glowing back at you.
Yeah, full bright sunlight, daylight readable, and you can maybe see that there. I've got this one set up on a dimmer switch. Anyone can do that. So for night flying or dusk flying,
okay, so it's not looking back at you then.
These are so bright that in a dark cockpit you can light up the whole cockpit just using the lights.
We are out here in bright sun right now.
Bright sun.
And I'm on a sharp angle to it, and I have no trouble seeing the location of those.
And the same thing with the turn rate. That's a true solid state gyro. So here we're going to hit a little bit of yaw back and forth, and you can see the lights wiggling. So I'm moving this way, and you can see that I've locked on these red lights. What that means is I have now put my airplane into a 2-minute turn, and now I'm going to start a 2-minute turn back in the opposite direction.
Sure enough.
Now I'm going to stop turning. You can see I'm back to level.
You may be hardly able to see that on the camera, but that motion this way was very slight, and that was reflecting it immediately as you did that.
Yeah, it's very
So they're very responsive then.
I had a customer write me and send us a very nice little note saying that this was better calibrated than his factory, his electric instrument. And just basically you're saying my product at $200 was working better than his expensive electric coordinator.
Isn't that something? Now, I've enjoyed flying behind the Dynon Skyview. That's a wonderful piece of equipment with a ton of information on it, and it has a coordination ball on it, but much as I love their instrument, I don't like the coordination ball much because it seems to have a little lag, and it's sort of an electronic representation, which this is too, but this seems very responsive.
Yeah, it's real time.
You're not moving that hardly at all, and it's moving around. The only thing that disturbs me here is we're obviously out of fuel. But of course, we can't have a fuel can hooked up to this, so.
Yeah, we're out of fuel. We need to hook up the old fuel tank.
There you go. That'll solve the problem. Okay, good. We're back in the air then.
How many different instruments do you offer, Jim?
I think we offer just pretty close to 50, 60 different variations of the instruments.
Is that right? Goodness.
I mean, here you got your basics, but we combine them together. You can get an airspeed with a VSI in one instrument.
Wow.
You got the G meter, you got the EGT CHT, you got the EGT EGT, you got the CHT CHT. You've got metric, Celsius. It gets really big. The price list gets really big really quickly. Dual fuel. We can put 2 fuel on 1 gauge.
Well, I see this is benefiting from your days in the electronics business or the tech business. So this is Belite electrics?
Let's just go to Belite Aircraft, and there's a tab there that'll take you to the electronics.
Okay, so Belite Aircraft, just like on James's shirt here, and then you can get right to the Belite electronics part of it.
That's the best way to get there.
Okay, great. That way you see it all, but how is the market responding to these instruments? They're a little different. They're not what we've all seen before. Does that mean resistance or acceptance?
2 years ago, initial resistance, we did them in white, and people didn't like the white. It had an ultralight feel. So last year, we retooled the whole line to black after we asked our customers, what do you want? They said, please make them black. And from then, it really has been great. We shipped a boatload last year, and we're way outpacing last year. I mean, we've been at the show one day today, and we had a purchase order roll in from one of our distributors for 6 units, for one day.
Wow, not bad. Great.
That's pretty good.
Well, pretty unusual, not only to create new ground with an airplane, which once started out as an airplane known as the Kit Fox Light, but is no longer that at all.
No.
So many changes on it. That's, I guess its ancestry is that still accurate, but that's about all. And now including instruments, and all of them with a very, very light focus. And for those of us that like light aviation, genuine light aviation, you're doing a great job. Thanks for your
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Great. Dan Johnson speaking with James Wiebe here at Sun and Fun 2012.